Story time. This is a story I used to tell a lot with my clients, and I haven't told it for a little while, and I'm not really sure why I stopped, but I thought it would be fun to share here. My husband's family is very spoiled and has a cabin. It is up in Star Valley, Wyoming, which those of you who have been know that it is beautiful. The cabin itself is just the most magical place ever. My family, my in-laws, we all go up together, and we always caravan. We always drive together. It's so fun. You know, we stop, we get lunch, and then we keep driving. We pull up to my brother and sister-in-law's house one year, and my sister-in-law comes out of the house carrying a cat carrier. My husband is deathly allergic to cats, and so he was just like, what are they doing? They are bringing a cat to the cabin. And so turns out that this cat had gone into labor that morning. And this cat is one that my sister-in-law can't leave alone when she labors, because this mommy cat has become dependent on my sister-in-law to clear babies' faces off and clean them up. She doesn't bite the sacks off or anything like that. And so my sister-in-law was like, if I leave this cat, I will come back to, trauma. I will come back to dead kitties. And so she brings this cat out in the cat carrier. They get in the car, we drive to the cabin. My brother and sister-in-law always bring this big trailer, so they empty out the trailer, they put the cat in it, it becomes the cat's birth cave. Okay, you see where I'm going here? This cat's labor had stopped, basically. She was having some contractions, but they had spaced out, and her labor had stopped. Because now this cat was not in her familiar place. This cat was not at her house, not in her little private corner of the closet that she likes to labor in, and she just didn't feel safe. And so for this mommy cat, her labor stopped, and her labor didn't continue the next day. It didn't start the next day. She was in an unfamiliar place with unfamiliar sounds, unfamiliar people. She just didn't feel safe. And at the end of the day, we have to birth where we feel safe. So after 3 days of taking this cat for little kitty walks with the little, harness down the road, and with all the different kids, this cat became familiar with the sounds, familiar with the smells, familiar with the feel of the space. And she did give birth to her kitties eventually 3 days later, but we were headed home the next day. So all of my nieces and nephews, they held a little kitty cat on the way home. The reason that I tell this story is that we are mammals at the end of the day. We have to birth where we feel safe. For some people, where they feel safe is in the hospital. For some people, where they feel safe is not in the hospital. And so for me, when clients ask, home birth versus hospital birth, it's not, hospital versus home. It is, where do you feel safe? And so I just loved this story, and I loved being part of this story because it showed me that even on an animal level, we can't birth if we don't feel safe. So the client that I shared this story with yesterday, she ultimately had a failure to progress diagnosis and ended up with a C-section. That's not a failure on her part. That is, the system failed her. They didn't help her to feel safe enough to birth. And so, as a doula, that is my job. My responsibility is to help a client prepare for birth and help them overcome all the obstacles that present themselves in that preparation, as well as in the birth. And so that is something that I take pretty seriously. But anyway, just thought I'd share that story because I loved it.